Welcome in to episode 71. It has been a couple months. That's on me. It has been a minute. Myself, Sleeves, joined by my co-host, Padre. And today we are going to go over our time in Nashville at the draft and the finals of the NHL 23 World Championship. Talk a little, World Championship and everything from the week. So, it is July 4th, Padre. What are you doing?
Probably just gonna swim in a little bit and then go see some fireworks later tonight with the kids. Like you saw after meeting my family, it's kind of a lot of stuff's based on nap schedules now, so you kind of just have to,
That is
organize it
true.
around that.
That is true. In Nashville, I did get to meet your lovely wife and Sailor and Fisher, and adorable children. And dude, you proved to me yet again that you are not human. You are able to stay out later than everybody, have more energy than everyone without any caffeine or booze, which is a testament to you being a nutcase. I don't know.
Maybe that's because I don't, you know what I mean?
Maybe
So
that's it. I don't know
I
what
let
it
them
is,
know.
but let me tell you, by the end, when I got home from Nashville and my trip, I was out of gas. And
Dude, I was tired too, and I lost my voice. Like, I love Nashville, but I also hate it a little bit because it's not like a normal bar scene where you can just
no.
talk and like yeah, there's always music at a bar, but this is just it's nonstop like loud music. So, I just felt like I had no voice by like the first night.
No, absolutely. Like that you're definitely right in that aspect. Like by the end, I learned a lot about I'd never been to Nashville. It is now my favorite US city. I've probably been to like
Okay,
30
that's
US
cool.
cities. And it is definitely number one there. It beats out Vegas for me, but I think that all depends on the type of person you are. If you like gambling, then you are definitely going to like Vegas more. If you hate country music, you are not going to like Nashville. If you don't mind country music, it's even okay because there's enough
How
good
how
country
was all
music.
the food places? What are we thinking here? So we went so we'll start off from the beginning here since we're gonna be all over the place probably.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll start. So like me and you met up first day. We went to Rippy's. What'd
We
you think of
did.
Rippy's?
I do. My dad. So for anyone who doesn't know, I went to. I had a long
Your
11
dad's the man
days.
too. He's hilarious.
Yeah, my dad. I was in DC from Thursday to Sunday, an 11-day trip, including this. On Sunday, we flew out. I flew to Nashville. My dad met me. He flew from Buffalo, and then Monday morning, we woke up there. We didn't get into our hotel until like 3 a.m. So like 8 a.m. we wake up, and we go out for breakfast. Let me start there. So I went to breakfast. I went to a spot that you recommended called Milk and Honey. Had fried chicken and waffles for breakfast, which was a crazy combination, but it was delicious. Absolutely loved it. That was my first little take of Nashville. We went, then we went to Rippy's, and my dad loved Rippy's. Like he was there like 4 or 5 times, even without me. And we met up there. Had the pulled pork, a pulled pork sandwich, fantastic. And for anyone that doesn't know, Rippy's is basically in Nashville. You've got one street that runs along, and it's like it was made by like Sim City because the arena is right on the corner, like right on the corner of this intersection. I don't know what it is, Broadway and something, and Rippy's is on one of the other corners. Two-story bar, like every single bar there, which kind of
Rippy's like overlooks the plaza to get into Bridgestone.
exactly. So on a game day, it's got to be a nightmare. Like you're not like
Yeah,
it's got to be
it's
it's got to be.
crazy.
It's 2 stories. So we had me and my dad had a couple beers and lunch with you and the wife when you got in. This is on the Monday. It's the day of the awards. I met up with Pete Blackburn a couple times, but then we went to the awards and blast. Like it's my second time going to the awards. It's not. It's fun getting dressed up. I enjoyed it because I had like a boat in the race. I actually wanted to see if Carlson win the Norris because that was like up for debate. It wasn't like a slam dunk. So I had a little bit more interest. But outside of that, like I can see why the NHL awards. Dude, I found it more entertaining than the draft.
The draft was a dud.
That was
Uh,
both
I
times
won't
I've
go to
been.
another draft again unless I'm doing the same type of thing where it's like if I'm there for the GWC and I'm like, I might as well do it.
I
But I don't.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think the draft outs after you get after the top 10 or the last player of like interest. So in this year it was Mitchkov. Like you were wondering how far he would fall. Once Mitchkov went, it was like okay, like they're really and there was no trades. The first time since I think like 2001 or something. But anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. So the awards had a great time. I got to go down there and watch it again. Brought my dad with it. This year, I was trying to bring my dad to like everything, and I didn't really care as much about networking and all of the stuff. Like last year, I brought my dad to Montreal last year for the same event, but last year I was a new guy. It was my first year casting the GWC, so I was like, trying to make sure that I didn't miss any dinners or, drinks where all the money is made in the industry. So this time I didn't really care. So it was all about just hanging out with my dad. And it was great. So after the awards, we had the after party. And you didn't go to the after party, but who did you go out with after the after party? Or while the after party was going on?
That night was the craziest night by far. I
It
stayed out till like
was.
3:30 that night or something crazy. Like it was a long night. And I'm glad I like stayed downtown for that night because then it was just easier just to walk right back over rather
Yeah, because
than
your
like
hotel was very close by. It was right across from
yeah.
Bridgestone.
So I originally I went out with Jack Ulmer.
Mm-hmm.
So his obviously everyone saw his brother Joseph won the GWC, Jost X10.
Yep.
And then I went and this will just be a funny story. So like we get in front of the line at Dirk's Bentley and Duncan Deli, everyone knows him.
Dude, this
Was
is an
wearing
all-time moment. That's a great
I'm
moment.
like sitting there and like I look like I'm 15. So it's like funny when I get into these places because they always like look at my thing pretty good. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like waiting and I'm like, what is going on? I go back out to like look where like why Deli's not getting in. And they're not letting him in because he has on basketball shorts. So I like
Which is the
I'm like,
most deli thing ever, bro.
yeah, and I'm like, I guess this place is like a little bit of a higher dress code than some of the other ones.
I'm not
Some
gonna
of the
lie,
other,
I didn't
I,
find it to be like it was better than Kid Rock, but like it wasn't. I found
yeah,
Jason
well,
Aldean's to be more like upscale than Whiskey
yeah, well,
Row.
but I was just kind of like, I mean, I don't know, whatever. He's like, I don't know. I guess I get it. Like, I don't go out a ton, so maybe I'm like, I'm just an idiot. I don't know, but whatever. I've been to that place like 10 times too, and I never see it. But I guess I've never been with anybody that wore basketball shorts either. So
Yeah.
they turned him around. I go, Deli. I'm like, listen, bud. I'm like, it's gonna be a longish night. I'm like, so maybe you want to head back to the hotel and go get some shorts. And so he did, or some different pants. He came back with some like all ripped up jeans or something. I was just like, I don't know, whatever. So he came back, we went out, and then I ended up running into the European guys. We ran back to your hotel, which your hotel was probably like 3 blocks
It
away.
was a 3 block away, but it was entirely uphill. I made that
It,
walk like four times
yes,
with my old man in the first day,
it
and we
was
were
deceiving
both
too.
wiped out.
Yes, it was deceiving because the first day you and he took us to go to your pool. Me and my wife were like, "Oh, it's not that far," and we're like, "Man, it's kind
Because
of
you can
far."
see it, yeah. Because you can see
Yeah,
it from Broadway. We stayed at the
it's
Grand
the same
Hyatt.
hotel. Me
It
and
was
my
a
wife
great
talked
hotel.
about.
It was a great hotel.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. But like anyway, so we ended up like I ended up running into Europeans. Then I ran back down to Broadway and I ran into Oli Postinen on the bench crew and I met Pete Lenz and that's when I saw you. So Sleazy and a bunch of the other guys like I think Grizz, your dad obviously.
Yeah, I'll jump in
Um,
here. Yeah, so right after the NHL awards, we were lucky enough to get awards tickets. So, or the after party. So the NHL had rented out Jason Aldean's from 9 till midnight, free food and free drinks. It's 4 floors, and it's just packed. And 3 hours of free booze is a dangerous, uh, you know,
yeah.
turn of events, but we had a great time. Nothing crazy because the next day I knew I had a call time at like 8:45, but I was staying out because my dad. And so yeah, then we go downstairs and you end up we run into Pete again and they are all and the Chicklets guys and they're all like we're going to Tootsie's and I was like okay that's for anyone that doesn't know Tootsie's is like this famous hole in the wall bar in Nashville and I was like okay I want to go like I need to say that I went here I can't avoid
Yeah.
it. Get in there, man. It's like 1:30, almost 2, and it is shoulder to shoulder. Like there is no moving on all 3 floors of this place. Me and my dad are finding a table, and I was just like, I'm gonna wait for Padre. I'm gonna say hi, and then I'm getting out of here. You come in with the on the bench guys and go upstairs. I need you to tell this is where the upstairs of Tootsie's. Once the Chicklets guys all came and whatnot, that's where all the NHL players were. But
Yeah.
like I'm not kidding you. You go upstairs and like it was you could not move. So they started kicking people out too. But tell the story of Matthew Kachuk because I found that
Yeah, so
hilarious.
I like you told me like Chuck was there, and obviously like I know Matthew because he's from St. Louis, and we skate together in the summertime. So I was like, oh, I gotta go, and I don't know what my brain. I guess because I didn't A care about the awards, and B didn't go to the awards, and then C didn't watch the awards. I was just kind of aloof to the whole thing. Like I don't know, and I'm a hockey nerd, like you know that. Me and you are two biggest nerds you could find probably, and And you were obviously like really into what the Carlson thing. I don't know what I was thinking, but I was just, I guess my whole like mindset was like GMs, coaches, owners, maybe, because I guess Dundon was down there, different people. Like that's who I would see down there. And then prospects. But the prospects, it's like, who cares? They're like 18 years old.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
So, and, so like I ended up going upstairs and I see Matthew and I see like guys from St. Louis around him that I knew. I start talking to him and like I make my way over to him and I see him. What's up, buddy? How's it going? He's like, what's up, Stewie? I'm like, what are you doing down here? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are you doing in Nashville? And he's like, Stewie, I'm up for the effing Hart. I'm like, oh, I'm like, I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, my bad. I'm like, well, that's just how much I care about the awards. He's like, well, I don't really blame you. And I'm like, yeah, well, maybe you should win it next time. And
Stewie,
obviously,
I'm up for the Hart.
But it was so funny. It was so funny. So I felt like an idiot, kind of, and then I was like, that I feel dumb. But I mean, he was like, I don't think he was all there, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that was so yeah. The first night, we ended up getting back, and again, I had a great time at the after party and all of that, and so then the next morning is the NHL 23 World Championship. So I go down there at like 8:45, 9 a.m. and they're setting everything up and whatnot. They let me not wear a suit, which I now looking back on all the clips and whatnot, I kind of wish I did because I don't like the look. But I didn't want to wear a suit because it was 9,000 degrees out. It was very hot.
It was disgusting the entire week we were there.
It was bad there, yeah.
No matter what you wore, too. Mm-hmm. I wore shorts and a t-shirt most. I mean, dude, you needed like 5 pairs of different clothes. Mm-hmm. You needed like 10 different pairs of underwear. It was disgusting. It was just a sweaty mess.
So let's let's just talk about the World Championship, and then maybe maybe talk about next year and things like that. So Jose wins, which I think I said it on the broadcast. I expected him to win. It seems weird. Like, Jose is a world champion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not Gren, it's not Regs, it's not Polgs, it's not Eki, it's Jose. Like, I don't know, it's weird to me still.
Yeah, you weren't, I don't think you were at the speakeasy yet. That was another night, too. It was like me, Jordan.
Ahead of ourselves, yeah.
Or maybe, no, maybe it was at the 12:30 Rooftop. We did so many places. Yeah. It was crazy. We were sitting there. We I don't know. Like when you get all the boys together, you start talking about like the game. Like we don't really talk about it
never ceases to amaze me how much it ends. No matter what, it ends up.
Yeah, we weren't even like. It's not even like we talk about like hut cards or. It's just more of this like I don't know. Like we were just talking about like the actual event, like how it went, and I think I made like the funny observation. I was like, wow, Jose went from being banned to the champion, and then like you got Duncan Deli there, who finished like I guess it'd have been like 3rd place in NA.
Yep.
And he was banned. And it was just funny how I just thought that was like funny. I don't know. It's just now he's the world champion.
It is definitely a new era because yeah, like I think that eventually I thought that Regs we talked about this, okay? And this might be a good debate because I think that you think otherwise. When you get to a spot where you are among like the better players in the community in any game, like in any NHL game, at a certain point, if you at one point you can get to top 10 or like that, you can definitely go on a run, but you cannot win this event, especially with the new format, like at the LAN, if you don't put in like 1,000 hours. I think that's where the differences is because. Once you get once you get very good at the game, you could not play very much at all and then end up going on a run, but I don't think you'll win. And Joe's ended up grinding the game, and here we are.
Really funny story real quick.
Yeah.
Duncan Deli was feeling himself after Nashville. He was feeling good. He went out with the boys. He mingled. He was texting the group chat we have and he got a text.
No. You cannot. Okay, hang on.
No, this is fine. This is not bad. This is not bad. This is something different. Yeah, I know. There's like a million texts that he sent. But anyways, he's like, Jose is asking him immediately when they get back from Nashville for money games. And Deli's like this like chiseled vet now. Like he's too big for it, right? He's like, dude, you're up 28 grand. Take a break from the game. And he goes, I don't play for free. I play for money. No, I mean, take a break from NHL entirely. Why? I make money playing wagers, Joe says. Right. But you just want 28 grand. This is the best part. You're a kid. Go enjoy life a little. Trust me, when I was your age, I wish I went out a little more.
Is he only
Keep
a
in
year
mind,
older?
that's the best part about Deli. Just completely like just aloof to the fact that Deli's like 21, I
I
think,
think
and
he
Jost is
hangs
like
out. Yeah, I think
19.
he's 20. I think Joe's is 20.
Oh, then it's even worse.
Oh man, it's so funny because he hung out with everyone, even in Philly. He was in Philly too, and we're all
Uh,
old. Like we're
yeah,
all far older.
you forget that he's that young because he has like I don't know. He's big.
He's
Like
pretty put together.
yeah.
You know, he's got a job. He's in school. He grinds NHL, all that stuff. But I think that he definitely it rubs off the fact that we're so much older. I think so.
Oh yeah.
That's great. That is great.
Back in my day, that's what it sounded like.
So yeah, so I think first off, when it comes to what like the GWC or the NHL 23 World Championship, first of all, we can talk about the venue. So they went with the esports truck again. Is what we had in Carolina. I personally loved it in Carolina, except for the weather, but not so much just because of what it was. It was in the again. You weren't. It sucks you weren't there for that one, but the where the fan fest was in the stadium
I get
series.
what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
in the
get what you're
stadium
saying.
series. So yeah, I was explaining to them like when you walked into the fan fest, the stadium series you had to go through the gates, get your ticket and all of that. But the truck was right at the front. So throughout the whole event, they have me and the noise and like the what's going on the broadcast blared over the speakers out, and they have this big giant screen that's on top of the truck that you can't see on
Yeah.
broadcast that's out there. So we had all the people stop by, like everyone at least looked. What happened in Nashville? They stuck the truck not on Broadway, but like across from Bridgestone, but in a spot where just no one was. So like there was no foot traffic, which obviously makes it pretty tough to get people to come by and check it out. By the end of it, I don't know if it's because I was screaming at the top of my lungs, but we had about 100 people near the end of it, which was fun. But again, the heat and everything like that and that stuff. I think that it was better than Montreal, in the sense that the bar that they were in was so crammed, and it just I don't know. It didn't feel I didn't like it. Nothing will beat the Luxor, in Vegas, and we could talk about that a little bit because Sap tweeted about improving the future of the tournament and all everything like that. Yeah, so like I wish that I didn't mind the truck. I just wish that it was, on Broadway. And again, I'm
And
sure
turn the other way. Even if
exactly.
they just turned it the other way for your sake
hmm
with getting
I
sun.
think it was the fact that because we're on broadcast the whole time, the view would have been just a brick wall.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I don't know because nothing, dude. I'll be honest with you. Of all the venues, the best one in terms of what it was, what it looked like on broadcast, and then just like the area was the All-Star game. Now it didn't look as good with the players because they showed too much of it. They didn't stay in tight, so you kind of saw like we were in a tent, right? So you kind of like it kind of looked a little like when they showed the players. But like me and Carlin's like look with like the ocean and the beach was like the best. Like that's probably I don't think that'll ever be beat.
Yeah, the one in Nashville wasn't bad when I did see it because I mean, I think that was I actually went down there and I didn't stay at all for any of the GWC. I showed up. I talked to you guys in the morning when you guys were out there because Sleeves and them were out there literally at the really
It was
early.
like 10 a.m. It was like 10 a.m.
When we went to go get breakfast, I saw you, and then I came back and I talked to James from the Capitals and Jordan from the Islanders, and I saw Carlin, and I met all the people, and then I was like, well, I'll see you guys in 6 hours, later tonight, because I don't know how you guys did. I mean, obviously, it's not the end of the world, but it was really hot.
Dude,
it
by
was
the end,
gross.
I won't lie to you. So again, for these events, you try to bring as much energy as possible, but you're still just casting a video game. But by the end of it, I'm screaming, and we've been out in the heat for a while, and I remember, dude, my legs started shaking. And near the end of it, I had Grizz. If you watched it, there was a couple times where Grizz starts doing play-by-play, and it's literally me telling him. Something I really like about Grizz is that we have pretty good chemistry where I just have to point or motion to something and he knows exactly what to do. So he just took over play-by-play. It's because I was chugging water and I would literally kind of drop down to my knees for a couple seconds because it's not like I was going to battle or anything, but it was just when you're screaming and you got like your blood pressure's like your head, it just I felt dizzy, man. It was an experience, but nonetheless,
And you're standing there for like that long in the heat. It's just like it
bet
just gets tiring. By the
bet
way, funny
yep.
thing, I don't remember if you were standing there or not. When I introduced Grizz to Colby Armstrong, I was like, "Yeah, this is one of the guys." I said one of the guys that broadcast the video game stuff. Like, I'm like, "Yeah, obviously met my buddy earlier," and he's like, "Oh, that was that thing that was over in the thing over there." He's like, when I was walking by, I heard you guys like screaming about something or whatever."
Yeah,
He's like, so
dude.
I was like, "What is this thing?" So people saw it. The problem is, I think behind it is when everyone walked behind it.
Yeah, you go behind it and you can't see the other side. Yeah, like I
You didn't
said,
know what was going on. Yeah.
I wish it would have been because if it was on Broadway, man, like it would have been nuts just because of how many people were there. But they put the stage so close. They put the stage right beside Rippy's at the intersection, so they didn't go back anywhere.
It was just like little park area because like I stayed at that Hilton that was like looked literally down on you guys. Like that Hilton,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
where they
that's
should
a
have.
way one.
They
That's
should
a
have
big
put you guys in. That was like
nice.
you could have walked in and out of there.
That was great. But yeah, so uh, like I said, I think it was better than Montreal. I don't know what it will look like next year. I saw Greg Wyshynski, right? That's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tweeted out that it looks like it might be Vegas for the draft and awards, and if the NHL World Championship follows that format, we might be back in the Lux Store. Who knows? Because the HyperX studio or the HyperX arena was man. So let's
What
talk
if they
about this.
don't
Let's
go?
talk
What
about
if they
this a
don't
little
go
bit.
back? What if
Yeah,
they don't go back in there? What if they just brought the truck again?
Vegas is tough, man. Because Vegas outside is different than Nashville. It's
I
worse.
know.
It's worse. I don't like the players. Obviously, it's probably pretty warm and uncomfortable, but they had AC. Like you don't see that. Like they had AC that like blew down at them. It was harder in Carolina because it was 75 the first day, and the second day it dropped down to like 60, and
You
like
guys not have AC, but you're broadcasting.
we had like a little portable one, but like we were like they put a tent above us, which thank God. But it is what it is. Gary Bettman hopped on the broadcast. I tweeted out the clip.
That was
He
cool.
gassed me up. Coolest thing that's probably ever happened to me, and that ever will happen to me when I'm in terms of broadcasting. So that was sweet. I got to meet Will Smith, who was hilarious. Get drafted by the Sharks. I was trying to. So now when I get really nervous interviewing whether it be athletes or people in the industry or anyone of influence, simply because you don't want to be the one to ask the wrong question because if you ask a really boring question, it's lame. They'll give you a cookie cutter answer, and the interview is just kind of blah. But if you ask like the wrong thing, you're clipped and you're in a lot of trouble PR wise. So Will Smith hopped on, and this is before the draft, obviously. And Grizz asked him like we had to kill time, which was tough, man. Like we had to kill a lot of downtime. And Will Smith like hopped on. It's supposed to be Fantilli, but Will Smith hopped on for like 15 minutes, and credit to him because like that's tough. He actually talked, but Grizz ended up asking like, "Where's your favorite place to vacation or that you've been?" And he starts answering. He's thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm like watching it. If you watch the clip back, I start smiling to myself because I'm like, I'm gonna ask this. Obviously, you can't ask where do you want to go because they're going to say whatever team drafts me. Well, I'll be proud to play for that organization. I'm just excited to
Right.
be, you know what I mean? You'll get the same thing that they always answer. So I was like, he's answering that he'd been to Punta Cana or something like that. And I'm like, well, what about vacationing in San Jose? And he continues on talking, like thinking about what he was talking about with Grizz, and then he like stops, looks at me, and laughs. He's like, oh, I see what you were doing there, and it was a very funny clip for me, because those guys that joke around and show that they're not just like robot hockey players is really fun. And then he signed my jersey, that I was wearing, and then he got drafted by the Sharks, so that was really cool. I obviously have a lot more, fandom for him now. And I wanted them to take Michkov. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but I wanted them to take Michkov, but I was pretty adamant saying that, if they don't take Michkov, as long as it's Will Smith, no one else. And they took Will Smith. So, anyways, in terms of the NHL 23 World Championship, what do you think? Give me 3 things that you would like to see from the event next year.
I put out like my 5 improvements, and I don't think it was very well taken, but whatever. I thought I said it in a pretty nice way, and I think I speak on behalf of all the players, and I think I speak even like you agreed with a lot of them. I think we need to for like the actual tournament. like venue aside, I don't even want to get into that stuff because like I might like joke about like the truck or whatever. I get it, but I'm not the one that's spending the money, so I'm not going to sit there and like tell them what they should do and not do. But like the money part, like that's like I said, like because you can say they could do it at the top of the Empire State Building. I mean, like I don't know, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. I'm not going to tell them like what they should and shouldn't do. Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah, he's just going nuts.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're saying that
but no,
a different
but like
venue?
actual tournaments, like
Okay.
the actual tournament, get rid of old gen for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Which like I think everybody agrees with that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I know I went to old gen last year, whatever. But and then if they do make it new gen only, like make it a way so there's like multiple ways to qualify. And that's another thing we talked about this. We talked about this in person. Like pick a lane. It's either it's the World Championships and it's the best tournament ever, or it's a marketing event. I think you like honest to God, they should probably just do a marketing event because of the state of the game.
Yeah.
Like
That was
you
tough
know,
about this year too. Is that the state of the game? This is the worst. Like, I'll go ahead finish because I'll.
no, just like the game's not that great.
No,
So and like I mean, we're gonna play the game. It's hockey. Like I'm gonna
no
play it
matter
next
what,
year.
we're still gonna play
I'm
it.
not gonna act like I'm not gonna play. But it's just yeah, like the game not being great and there's being so many like goofy things with it. Then like just make it a marketing event. Like if my sister wins, they won't care. She doesn't play the game. I mean, you know what I mean. I'm just making
Yeah.
up something, but it's like that's kind of how it feels. So it's like just pick a lane almost. And then I think like the other thing like I've always said is like, and I know they won't probably do it, but like they already like make it versus so everybody can play. But then like this is like the like oh EA might not be like I don't know how much EA actually cares or not about it, but like you've told me like they would want it to be hot. So it's like I said make it versus until the point where then you can have the draft, and then it doesn't matter because when I talked to Chris Dollier, the guy that runs it all, when I talked to him years ago in St. Louis, he said the main reason why they switched to hut because they didn't like Pittsburgh versus Pittsburgh, Tampa versus Tampa. Well, the only parts that are really streamed, those are all honestly the draft portion, which is like their hut teams or whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I still think people get confused when they like just average Joe Blow. Like you said, people like walking by, they're like, well, why is Johnny Gaudreau on the Leafs? Or why is, so I think people still don't like, even though if it's not Pitt versus Pitt and Tampa versus Tampa, it's still confusing to like the average person. I think like when they see like, well, why is Gaudreau on this team or whatever. I can't remember what my other things were on the list. I think I might have said like maybe like a crackdown like on the cheaters and stuff. Like in the there's just too much manipulation going on. So find a way to make it so you can't manipulate the tournament so much. Like whether it's the discords, whether it's the leaderboards in the game, whether it's the win trading, the IP. I mean, just there's just so many things. Like, and I mean, I think one of the main things I think I might have said too, like talk to you more, talk to Owe, I don't know, whoever, like talk to people that have been around for a long time and like bounce more things off you guys because ultimately you're the ones who like you've been around it forever.
I think so all of the things that you're talking about, I think are like the main issues that they're running into. I think we're at a point now with the World Championship where I talk about this all the time now. Like seeing it all in behind the scenes, there's like 4 or 5 pillars that they're trying to satisfy.
Yeah.
And you simply can't do it all. Like, so for example, you mentioned go back to versus. So that would evening out the player base, like evening out the player field for the competitive player. So that would satisfy, the 1%, the people that have a shot.
Well, not even just that though, but like if your neighbor who lives next
Mhm.
to you doesn't have a hut team and he just wants, he's like, oh, like that looks pretty cool on TV. Like you said, you were on TV after the draft.
Yep. No,
And,
you're right.
and
You're right. No.
And,
So
and like Alex Petrangelo texted me and was like, dude, what is this? Like, are you playing? I'm like, no, that's not me. And this was a stadium series that was
yeah,
getting re-shown on TV.
yeah.
But he saw it. So if he sees it, if my neighbor sees it, they're like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I play that game. I want to play in it, even though he's not going to win. But you can't just like, that's the problem with this tournament now is you can't just pick it up and go, all right, I'm going to play.
Exactly. So I agree. So from a competitive player base, what the best way for the tournament to go, in my opinion, would be whatever team you use. This is in FIFA as well. Whatever team you select, everyone is 85 overall.
Yeah.
And so there is no competitive. I'm sure there's some slight competitive advantage, like whether it be X factors and things like that. But maybe you could turn X factors off. I don't know. But that would be the pillar that would satisfy the players, right? Because again, you don't need Hockey Ultimate Team. You don't need to build up your team. You don't need to engage in the mode. Versus you can set it and forget it because it is what it is, right? If you're good at the game, you can just pick it up whenever the tournaments are and go. Satisfies the players. The issue there is now you're not satisfying EA, and
Right.
not that I'm like, oh man, you got to satisfy. It's just I'm when I bring these up and talk to people, it's like I'm trying to give you realistic expectations for like what's going on. So EA does have a significant stake in the NHL 23 World Championship. I can confirm that. So obviously, if you think logically, it's like a business, right? Like you're not like EA is not going to do it for nothing. They need to get something out of it, and whether you see like you're getting marketing and all of that for it, there's still a lot that goes into the tournament. And Hockey Ultimate Team obviously is going to benefit EA. Because again, you're engaged in Hockey Ultimate Team in the mode, and whether you buy packs or not, even not even buying packs, but you're engaged in the mode. If it's versus, right, you could not play, and we just talked about this. If you're a good enough player and you've been at the top of an NHL video game at some point in the last 10 years, you could go on a run if everything is equal.
Yeah.
You have that in you. You won't win because, again, I think that you need to put in 1,000 hours in a year to have a real shot at it. But you can go on a run. In Hockey Ultimate Team, you can't do that. You've got to engage with the game all the way throughout the year, right? So now you're not satisfying EA, right? And then it's like the teams. That's another one. Not every team is super involved in the World Championship. But so you can't have individual tournaments because not every team is going to provide you with a competitive player. But like,
Are we on the same page as wipe all the individual tournaments for every team and almost? I think we talked about this before. Me and you,
it's
like,
tough. It's tough.
Camera.
So like this year, this was the issue is that this year they put in a lot more time and effort into the NHL 23 World Championship, but it was so spread out, and it almost made it a little too confusing. But
yes,
because they
it was
did all
confusing.
all of the teams had their own tournament, and it didn't hit home. It didn't have the same impact. But then it's like, I'll be honest with you. In my opinion, the way that I would go about the NHL 24 World Championship is dial it back all the way to the bare bones. So, and I don't know if that's even possible now because of what it requires. Yeah. But in the first 2 years of the NHL 23 World Champ or the GWC, there was no teams. You did not represent a team in the first 2 years. You were your own player. So Junior Pence, John Wayne. Like, they did not have an affiliation with those teams, I believe, right? Like, They just used Versus or Hockey Ultimate. I think in 19, because it was Hut, did they just select whatever jerseys they wanted to wear? Because there was no club championship. It was like...
I think you just picked a team, and then if
that team, yeah.
And, like, that's what I was going to say is, like, when we talked about this off camera, I think we talked about this in Nashville maybe, I was saying, get rid of all the team tournaments, and if, like, you have a Jordan Zelnicker, you have a James Bittner, like, and, Jordan works for the Islanders, and James works for the Capitals, you have Stinger for the, Jackets, you have a guy like Owe for the Leafs. If they're go-getters, and they're like, I want No Sleeves to be my rep, I don't care if he's going to win or if he's going to lose, I want him. Or if, like, the Blues wanted me, whatever, and they pick, that's fine. They can pick them, and that's like their choice. But if there's like 4 Leafs representatives, there's 4 Leafs representatives, because I always thought it was kind of corny when you have like guys like when I won the Blues bracket, I'm playing a diehard Blackhawks fan, and everyone knows the Blues and Blackhawks hate each other. It'd be like you representing the Kings and you're a Sharks fan. It doesn't
that happened because the Sharks representative was LA Kings fan.
Yeah,
like,
it's not the same like oomph, and it just doesn't look the same. I don't know.
I agree, and again, that's the issue, trying to then satisfy the teams. Right. And I think that the issue is that not every team wants to be super involved.
Nope.
Clearly, right? There's other teams.
They said that straight up.
There's about 10 to 12 that would pick a representative and then push them. So like Risto with the Florida Panthers, which is wild because now they got him out to a Cup final game.
Yeah.
So what I would say is, get down to the open qualifier and qualify for the actual tournament, right? And then if a team wants to select a player, they can select the player. They don't get any competitive advantage. All they do is like, I'm going to use that team, right? And other people could use that team, I guess, if you wanted. or maybe
Yeah.
not. I don't.
'Cause there's a
Again,
million Leafs. There's a million Leafs
that's
fans.
the
There's a
issue,
million
right? Is
Habs
like
fans.
you get Leafs in Montreal, like those, like that's a gong show compared to
But I
like.
think it makes for a better story,
I
and that's like
agree.
what it's a marketing event, and it's so much cooler when when you guys had me on there, and I didn't go far, but I went far enough where you're like, oh, he skated with the Blues, and oh, he was the Blues and Union goalie,
I'll
and
be honest with you. Two of the three world champions were representing the team that they were a fan of. Columbus. Cookie did it with Columbus, and Joe did it with Detroit.
that is true. That
So
is true, and
like that's pretty crazy when you think about it, because I think that everyone gets focused on like on paper these people should win. And if the game is anything like NHL 23, that simply is not going to happen. We saw what happened with Nippon and Poles.
right,
Like one of the worst goals to lose on,
yeah,
and then Nippon lost the very next game against someone he should not have lost to. Right? Like
right,
if again, if all things were equal, but yeah. So like I would dial it back and make it real simple. I think anytime that you add friction, a point of
yes,
friction, you lose players, you lose signups,
mhm,
you lose whatever. So one point of friction is signing up outside of the game.
yeah,
Going to Battlefy and Face It back in the day. That's a point of friction, right? In my opinion, it should be all done in game. You got a QR code right on
yep,
the game, and again, and they had that, and they did have that. But again, same kind of situation. I think that EA should lean into the GWC more. I think that if you accrue hut points, hut champs, finishes, maybe top 20, maybe top 10, you get points throughout the year. And if you hit the top 32 all the way up to the open bracket play, the top 32 are from hut champs. And then the other 32 are open. Like you've got it, like it's like you can just go in and get. So that way
dude,
you're
it would even
rewarding
be cooler
that.
if
You
they
know how
had
much harder
online.
hut champs would be,
Oh yeah,
bro. Oh,
it would make it the activity, and even if they brought back like this is an EA thing, right?
mm-hmm.
If they brought back online season, so there's an
Mm-hmm.
actual like all time grind, you could reward even like the top 10 of that leaderboard. So then you really have some just absolute grinders all year, but that keeps activity going. So
Mm-hmm.
you're feeding the GWC, and then you're also feeding your own game where it's like because I'll be honest, like next year I'll probably just play my Hut Champs games and get off. You know what I mean? And unless they do something in Rivals where it's like, oh, this is fun,
The
but
the other thing that I can't stand anymore is that the NHL EA, its game cycle from this is from a competitive player standpoint, or even not even competitive but like semi-competitive standpoint. So it's like again probably the 5% of the player base, because the rest don't
yeah,
care about the GWC, and I
right,
understand that. But the vocal ones are usually the more competitive players. And it's like the second the GWC is done, or even just like the open qualifier is done, that's the beginning of the end for the game.
yep,
In all honesty, I consider personally once the GWC finals are done, the game is done. Like it's just how it is, right? And that's not the case for everybody, but it just really feels like that. And I think that that is brutal. That this tournament is holding up an entire mode. Like it is propping up. A lot of people go and build their teams in Hockey Ultimate Team with the sole purpose of competing in the GWC, and that sucks. Like that should not be. That's not the NHL's fault. Like that's EA's got to make their game more engaging for that to matter more. So if that's gonna be the case, dude, make Hut Champs. It's the same people that are gonna have a chance at GWC. If you can get top 20 in Hut Champs from October to February, you are someone that can compete in the GWC. No one's lucking in to 18 wins in Hut Champs when the game is at its highest player base. No one is, unless you're in the West Coast, and maybe again that's a whole other debate. But like that's just how it is. That's a very good player. So again, I think that if you tied in Hut Champs throughout the year up until when they start, it's tough. The other thing, and again, I talked about like there's 4 or 5 things that you're trying to satisfy with this tournament. The other one is the time of it, like when it started earlier this year. There was far more stuff. All 32 of the club tournaments, the open play, the LAN in Florida, the All Star game, the LAN in the Stadium Series. That's the most we've ever had with the GWC ever. And but it still ended real late. Like from the North American Finals, which was in the middle of May, to the end of June, and you lose all that steam. You know, you lose all the steam of people still paying attention, right? And I think the only way that you can ever improve upon that is to do the tournament and have it end earlier. Like the week before the playoffs is probably the best time, because team of the season would just come out, so that's the last spike in people engaging, right? And that's really it. But the problem is that the NHL is all focused on the playoffs, and I think that for the few people that get to go to the event, like Nashville was fantastic.
It was
Like
awesome.
those, like I've been to almost every single one except for that first year in Vegas. I went the second year. I've been to every single one since,
Mm.
and like Nashville was fantastic. Like all the players had a blast. Like it's just like it's tough because again, I don't know how you put it because I know they like tying it with an event because they get the PR, they get the draft play, like the younger crowd. Like these guys all play NHL. Bedard plays Hut, and he was at the truck, like at like interviewed by
Yeah.
Carlin and stuff. So like that stuff's huge for the event and the PR, and you have to understand from a business standpoint, like you can take clips of that. The NHL can take clips of that and put it in a lot of other stuff, and that's something that a lot of players don't take into account. And I don't know how you balance all that. I think that
I think it's two separate issues, like kind of like because we're talking about two that like I agree with what you say. It's for me and you, it feels so long because we're old, but those kids like
I also have to play the game all the way through, basically. So
well, yeah,
it
but
feels
like
longer.
even if you didn't play the game, like me and you would say it just feels too long, right? But like I just sent that text about like Jose and Delhi, like Jose just won 28K, Delhi's knocked out, and they're still wanting to play. Those kids will play no matter what. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So for them to go until
I mean the casual
June,
viewer.
right? The casual viewer,
Yeah.
correct? It does feel like it's too spread out. I don't know. But the whole for EA to get people to play the whole way through, I don't know.
That's a whole
Uh,
other topic.
that's a
Like,
whole
yeah,
other time. I mean, there's some, but we could go.
yeah.
That's in that. I feel like we just blow hot air at that point
I
because I feel like nothing happens.
yeah, I think the last thing I'll say about the GWC, and a lot of people that have been around since the start, even yourself included, will go back to every year it seems less and less. So the tournament has been going on for 6 years, which is a long time. And
COVID didn't help anything.
COVID,
Yep.
like I'll be honest with you, like when I went in 2019, man, like it felt like EA had the competitive team was there. It felt like they were gonna like push this like the Madden Championship Series, and COVID crushed it because the year of COVID, I think the prize pool was 150 grand. Like it was way up. So like he's just sitting there in the background.
I just sent my wife a picture. Both dogs flip flops, and I'm like, they're just sitting right there. They're unreal.
That's good. But yeah, like I think that in the first 2 years when it was in Vegas, everyone goes back to
Yes.
that like it was the best broadcast, and it was the best, just the hype around it, everything. You got to remember, first of all, it was new. There was no competitive play. There was literally zero before NHL 18. There was nothing other than like the Snyder Cup. But that was the same year. It was right before
And you know
GFC.
what's funny? When you talk about like how they're like, we need HUT, EA, right? They used to not have HUT. But once
Mm-hmm.
you open the can of worms, you
That's
can't
it.
put it back in. You know what I
You're
mean? So
right.
it's like and now that we're here, it's like, well, so you're like so me saying I should probably just shut up and never talk about that. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's they're not gonna ever go back to versus.
I don't think they can, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think they should. Because again,
No,
I think
if
that
you're running
versus
their company, if me and you were
not
boss
dude,
at EA,
not even that, just from an engagement standpoint.
that's true.
Like Hut is there's a reason why everyone plays Hut, not versus, right? In a
Yeah.
perfect world, competitive players would like the path of least resistance and just be able to win based off on talent, which is what it should be. Like if you were to make the most competitive tournament there is, then obviously that should be the most important.
Right,
And
I wouldn't
versus
play HUT.
exactly. You wouldn't like. I would say probably 50% of the top players in the world would not play Hut.
Yeah.
And I just think like I watched that first one when it was Pittsburgh Pittsburgh, and even if you
Yeah.
averaged out the team made him 85 overall, I don't know. I just don't think it would be the what I said about how GWC is holding up Hockey Ultimate as a mode from the top end, where like everyone's building their teams for it. I think that's a negative and a positive because that means that people are so invested in this tournament because it's Hockey Ultimate, and you got to build your team, and you got to have certain players on your squad, and all that. I think that's a huge bonus. Now, should there be some sort of cap and way to build your team and limit? Yes, like that. That's what it should be. It should be like you can only have 190 plus card, something
Shout
like
out
that.
Kesta right there. That's
Yeah, exactly. He
Kesta.
loves the sour cat. That was his big thing. That's what I would do. I sincerely think that if it was not Hockey Ultimate Team, that it would not be as an engaging of a tournament. I think it should still be Hockey Ultimate Team, but there should definitely be some restrictors there. It just would not be as fun. And again, and the other thing is, it's been going on for 6 years, like I mentioned. I feel so much like everyone's just they feel this entitlement of the tournament being there because it's been there for 6 years now. So you just assume, okay, October rolls in, time for GWC. Like it could just not be there, and it'd be like now like there's like what 3 teams that run an event, and people realize that like how much they missed the tournament because dude, let's be real, man. If GWC went away, how much shell are you playing? Like you're probably just playing threes, man.
I'll probably just go back to playing versus leaderboards.
Yeah, like that's it. And but like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people that would be like that if it, you know. So
Yeah.
that's why I mentioned if it goes back to a simpler route and maybe that would benefit a little bit more. But the other thing is in the first 2 years they went all out. I mean like
Right.
Cookie and Gran and all those guys in year 2 they stayed at the win. Like I don't know how much that costs, but it is far more like that is so much money on every time that they do these events that it's not sustainable. So now when you
Right.
go all in the first couple years and you're like, okay, if we're going to make this sustainable, we've got to make X changes. And from the outside, you're like, man, it's just getting worse and whatnot. But the sustainability of it, would you rather have had the GWC for 3 years and they went all in and they're like, okay, this isn't going to work? Or 6 years and they have to figure out, this is the ROI of this, and this is how we're gonna handle that, and all of that. I think that gets overlooked quite a bit. And again, I also have a unique outlook on the tournament because I'm so involved in it, or I have been. Knock on wood. But yeah, like Nashville for the 4 guys that got to go, I can confidently say that was the best time with the awards, the draft, the city of Nashville. Even if you didn't go out drinking and party, I'm not talking about that, but just like Montreal did not feel like that. Montreal did not feel like that at all. It felt like I'm gonna go to the event and then that's it, and then everyone.
And we all hung out together a lot too. Like
that's
thought.
it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like in Montreal, it didn't feel like that. It felt like everyone just went their separpe ways after everything.
Yeah.
Whereas this year, it was not that. Everyone and I didn't hang out with Jose or Cad or I mean even.
Oh, it's hard too.
And again,
They're
the
underage.
age gap, right? Like I'm not going to. I don't do that at any event just because why do guys that are 20, 21 want to hang out with me, right? But still, but everyone else in the community that was there, we all went out. Like it was just very fun. Shout out to Man Advantage, by the way, because
Man Advantage. Because he listens to the pod. He's a commenter. He loves the pod, but he
Dude,
like
the
gave us.
MVP.
Yeah, he gave us like an awesome, setup with going. We went to like a private speakeasy.
I'll come all the way back after the GWC. Okay.
Yeah.
So now continuing on about the trip and whatnot. Man Advantage, I had not met prior to that. I did meet him on Zoom one time with Kesso because he's very close to Kesso.
Okay.
And I met him in person. He's from he lives in Nashville, and he hung out with my dad and watched the event the whole time, in person. It was so hot. But he was like, "Do you want to go for dinner afterwards?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Yeah, I'm a member at the 1230 Club." And I was like, "A member at a restaurant?" Like, okay, sure. I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to go for dinner afterwards." So we go for dinner afterwards, and we get in there. The 1230 Club is the least Nashville upscale restaurant that was there. It's on Broadway, right across the street from Bridgestone, but it didn't scream like country music. And you go in there, you go upstairs, and I said I had a reservation with whoever, and they tell me to go to this elevator, and we go into the elevator, and it goes down a floor. We're on the 3rd floor now. It goes down to the 2nd floor. You can't get to by just walking, and we open up into this like jazz bar, like secluded, like out of a movie. And I look at my dad. I'm like, what the hell is this? Own personal bartender. No one else is in there. So he shows up with Grizz and Deli. Deli was dressed he was dressed pretty appropriately, and had an amazing dinner and just shot the shit for an hour or two. And I really appreciate that. I had a lot of time meeting Kyle, Man Advantage was great, and I love meeting people in the community. I said this before, like it's something that I really enjoy.
It's that cool speakeasy too downstairs.
Yeah. So anyway, so after the event, we go and have this really nice dinner, and then we go upstairs to the roof, and that was when like the Chicklets guys, everyone. That was like all the Euros.
It was like a private party kind of.
Yeah, all the Euros. James and
Carpig
Jordan showed
was there.
up. Yep, Carpig showed. Yeah, I actually met Carpig too. He's from Sharks Gaming. And
Yep.
I just told him like everyone. I put a post out. I'm like, if you're in Nashville, here you go. And it was just Rooftop 1230 Club, and everyone showed up. Like it was very very cool. All the Chicklets guys were there. After
They
that,
were awesome too.
Bro,
They took pictures with everybody. They were cool.
I will never forget for my entire life. the night I have with my dad. I talk about this a lot lately. Again, all throughout by being a Leafs fan. Like me and my dad, we haven't had we're not we don't hang out all the time. My dad never spends money, never travels, so that's why I was trying to show him a good time, dude. So we've been drinking the whole night after the GWC is done. I have no voice. I'm gassed because we're out till 2 a.m. the night before. I had the 8 a.m. call. I've been screaming in the sun all day. And we go up to 12:30 club and we have some waters for a while. Like 12:31 rolls around. And I don't know if it was you or Jordan, somebody. Let's go.
Jordan was
Yeah.
pushing the
He
gas.
was like, let's go to Jason Aldean's, which is just down the road. So we go to Jason Aldean's. We were there the other night for the night before at the awards, and my dad liked that place. We're like, yeah, sure. We go up there, have a beer, and you guys immediately are like, or Jordan's like, I'm not feeling the vibe, and the boys wanted to go to Kid Rock, which is right next door, so Kid Rock's place. So I look at my dad. It's like 1:30. I look at my dad. I'm like, you want to go to Kid Rock's and then take off? He's like, sure. So okay, we walk downstairs from all four floors, Jason Aldean's. We go next door and we go up all the way to the rooftop of Kid Rock. Stay there for like 20 minutes, and then everyone else is like, I'm not feeling it. We're gonna go to Whiskey Row, Dirk Bentley's club. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna chill here with my dad. I'm thinking it's almost 2. I'll just walk back up. It's 2 a.m. rolls around. Last call in Nashville's 3. Great. And I look at my dad. I'm like, you ready to get out of here? And he's like, well, we can go check out, Dirk Bentley or whatever. And I look at him. I'm like, what? My dad's 63. He definitely, he enjoys the waters. Anyway, so I was like, you sure? I thought that he was trying to stay out for me. And I'm like, Pops, I'm gassed. Like, if you don't want to go,
Right.
we don't got to go. He's like, well, I mean, like, we're in Nashville. You're not going to be there. When's the next time we're going to be back? I'm like, okay. We walk down the street, go to Dirk's Bentley. The Golden Knights were having a party, an after party there, like a cup party. I think it was Chandler Stevenson. I don't know who, but they had just left because you could see on the screens, like, the Golden Knights stuff, and it was all blocked off at the top. And no elevator. Bruh, Dirks, help out. That was like 6 floors. It wasn't 4. Like
It's huge.
like I was like, no, like this sucks. We stayed there for a couple drinks, and yeah, dude, it's like 3 a.m. by the time me and my dad walked back up to our hotel. It was I can confidently say probably the best night I've ever had with my dad. So
That's
super
cool.
happy about that. Like it was
Yeah.
a blast. The next day was the draft. We sleep until noon. Me and my dad are out. Like we slept in because I didn't have to get up for anything. And then Man Advantage, Kyle picked us up. He was our Uber driver, and we met you and the wife and the kids at Hattie B's, which
Yep.
is like a famous hot chicken place. And I wanted to experience all of the stuff that you should as a tourist in Nashville.
Yep.
And it was uh, it was great. I thought that good, real good. I mean, is that your favorite place to get food in Nashville?
Yeah, Rippy's is starting to be like my second. I think maybe you're right there with it. Like because I've had it. I've been there so much now. It's like like I said, I was just there like 3 months ago before I was with you there. So it's like I'm kind of I kind of get like not burnt out by it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But no, yeah, wait, and then after that, like that was draft. Yeah, that was
it
draft
was
night.
draft.
The draft,
I
the
did.
draft night was a dud.
I had so okay. That's a lot on me. So we go out for lunch and then we go down. My dad loves Rippies. He loves
Yeah.
it. So he was like, I want to get a hat from there. Let's go have a couple beers before the draft. So we go and do that. We get there at like 2. Bro, I thought that we would go back up to the hotel, maybe change or something, and then go to the draft. But the draft isn't like swanky. Like I wore my suit. I wore my suit
Yeah.
jacket and went out to the awards. But the draft isn't like that. It's fans. Everyone's wearing jerseys and stuff. So I was in like just in some nice shorts and a shirt and whatnot. So I didn't need to go change. So was my dad. And man, here's the problem. When you start getting after it in the afternoon, by the time the night rolls around, you're already like hungover. So I knew when we got after it in the afternoon, it was me, my dad, Man Advantage, and Carolina Kaniak. He was a guy he came and met us for a little while. But we stayed there all the way up until basically the draft started, and we were in one. So by the time the draft happened, I already had a headache. It was like, ugh. And the first round was fun up until Mitchkov, and then it was brutal. It is.
Yeah.
It's great to be there in the beginning, guys, but then it dies, especially because there was no trades, which was stunning because there was word that there was going to be so much action. And last year, dude, in Montreal, they had the 101. They trade for Doc. Like, it was crazy. Like, it had like 20 trades. Like,
It feels like your graduation from college or high school. You're just watching people walk up
yes.
on the stage and walk up
Yeah.
on the stage, and you're just sitting there like, all right, like, is this like we end up leaving after like I left earlier than you because Jordan's like, let's get out of here,
I
and you're like, I'm gonna
stayed.
stay till the Sharks.
I stayed to the because we were already so far in. I stayed for
Yes.
the Sharks at 26, which I'm stoked for because I tweeted, I was live tweeting the draft, and I was like, man, I just want Musty or Richie, the two
Mhm.
highest OHL picks that were available. Because obviously you guys know, like if you follow me, I'm a big OHL guy. I love the Ice Dogs, and if they're gonna draft someone in the first round, it'd be awesome to watch them in person next year. And they drafted Quentin
Mhm.
Musty, who I have seen obliterate the Ice Dogs last year, and I was like, I was more excited for that than when they took Will Smith. So next year, I get to see the former number one overall pick in the OHL, Quentin Musty, who is now going to be a Sharks draft pick. So that was sick. But then after we went back to the 1230 Club, I, I feel like everyone was just burnt out. Oh no, we went to the Speakeasy. Sorry. So again, man advantage being from Nashville, he set up reservations after the draft for this like hidden bar.
It was
Like
cool.
we got to experience all of that. Like we were blessed, and we go
Man
down, and
advantage.
again,
Go.
dude, it reminded me of like a cantina, like very swanky, very like Deli had to wear jeans.
We were not dressed probably the way we should have been,
I
but
felt okay, but yeah, like
we were. But you know what
yeah,
I mean. Like
yeah.
if you could like just come from like your house right to there, then you would have
I
been
would
like
have
there. But
worn, yeah, I would have worn
yeah.
like a nice pair of jeans with a sports coat. Like that would I definitely would have done that.
Deli, let me tell some real quick. So you were a
Do
little
not tell
later.
the
Deli,
joke. That's a
Deli, no, no, no,
that's a
no, no.
had to be
Deli,
there.
Deli came rolling in, and he had on like ripped up jeans, and he bought a draft shirt, like a
Yeah.
collared shirt, it said like NHL draft, and he had his Devils hat on that he had on all weekend, and he sat down, and the lady actually believed, the waitress believed that he was a Devils draft pick, and like he literally, and it got even worse. So like, I mean, well, basically we ended up hanging out there the rest of the night, and that was about it, honestly. But then I'll let you take it from here because I left. I went back to St. Louis. Sleeves ends up going up to CJ142's wedding. If everyone knows who that is in the community. And John Wayne's there, Cookie's there, Penn's is there. They're all there. Well, Deli ends up going up with him and tell him how he got a. I can't believe he got a room. Like it's just
Oh, dude. Okay, I was like, "What are you talking about?" I forgot
the
about this.
Devils
So,
draft pick thing.
yeah.
Yes.
So that was Nashville. My dad flew back to Buffalo. I had to continue my journey of 3 different cities and
Yes.
states in 11 days. So I flew to Philadelphia for CJ 142's. If you watch him on stream and whatnot, his wedding. And a lot of people from the community that I've met over the years were also there. But the first night was larcenist. Um, who is definitely one that likes to gamble and likes to throw his money around. We went out for a crazy dinner at Ruth's Chris, which was nuts. That was probably the best steak I've ever had. Then we went to the casino. Because my man John Wayne and Larson's, they loved to gamble. And I am not a big gambler anymore. If you're from Niagara Falls, you kind of get over it pretty quick because once you turn 19, it gets dangerous with Casino Niagara right there. We're the biggest casino in Canada. So, anyways, I'm like, okay, I'll take $100 and I'll just play some blackjack with Larson. It's just $15 hands. But he was not betting $15. I will not expose his units, but they were dangerous. Anyways, we did that for a couple hours, but Deli shows up, and credit to him because he flew from Nashville, got in his car, and immediately drove to Live, and he got offered a room at the casino because he told them he was he got drafted with the Devils, and they offered him a comped room. And I was like, what in the world? Like, it was just, I couldn't believe
And he didn't take it.
No, dude, he's a disaster, man. Like, so it was, and then obviously, I don't have to get into it all, but like, got to go to CJ142's wedding. Fantastic
Yep.
wedding. Gorgeous venue in downtown Philly. It was like a
Mhm.
penthouse of one of the
I was getting the
bigger buildings.
FaceTime calls.
Yeah, and it was really fun. I hadn't seen Cookie and Pens. I feel
That's
like
cool.
in like year, I haven't seen Cookie in years. I don't know
Dude,
when. We still talk, but
it sucks because you talk to all these people all the time, and it's a video game and it's online, but it's like it was like cool. Like I got to hang out with you,
it's
and I got
not
to,
weird. Like
not at all.
when we met, it was the first time since 2018. Like
Yes.
that was the last time I've seen you in person, and it was
Yeah.
just like we were doing this. So
You
like
never met my wife. You never
I
met
never
my
met your
wife,
wife.
my
Yeah,
kids, and
yeah.
we just had like a normal lunch, and
It
nothing was
wasn't
like
awkward, and
strange.
like you know what I
Nope.
mean. You just pick up like you would normally because you talk every day and whatnot. And like that's the thing about about meeting people in the community is like
Yeah.
you know that's like the best part. So like I hadn't seen Cookie and Pens, but we talk regularly or semi regularly now. We're a lot older. Like I can't. I think Pens is about to turn 27 or 28, and I was just like, good
Crazy.
God, I feel old.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it was great seeing them, and then I flew home on Sunday, dude. I was wiped out. Like
I bet.
I was I wish in a perfect world I could have done CJ's wedding first because I would have loved to have all the energy and excitement with that, and then Nashville, and then the Caps because it was Caps is I love going to DC, but really I spend my day at District D, and then like that's it. I just go back to the hotel and I can just like chill. It's like going to the office. So that was but that was it. That was a great GWC. I tweeted this out. I'm like, let us pray that the next one is in. If they do the draft and awards and the GWC happens again, which from my understanding, I don't see why they don't have a GWC, but it's not always guaranteed. In Vegas, man, that Vegas is a great city. Like Nashville, I enjoyed personally because I love country music, and again, the crew that went out was just I've met a lot of people in the community, not just the community, but the industry, like Pete Blackburn and Jordan and all of them. Like it's just fun. So, yeah, that was that, and now we're back home and life's what are you playing? If you're not playing NHL, I said you tried to play a little bit NHL
Uh,
the other day. You playing MLB?
okay. Did you watch any of that?
I was in your stream for like 10 minutes. I was half
Uh,
asleep. I was yeah.
okay. Yeah. I like. I don't know what made me do it. I was like chilling in Discord, and I was like, "Oh, I'll fire up the stream. Like, oh, let's play some NHL and talk hockey." It was just too late. But then I was like, I put like one game of Versus. I'm like, what am I doing? It was so boring. And part of it's the style of the game. Is I just remember
Yes.
I kept telling like the guys in the Discord, I'm like, dude, I'm just going right back behind the net. It's just like it's so it literally feels like when they added, remember they added like the set plays with the circle bubbles, and you go to those plays for them to activate. That's what it feels like the whole game is now. It's like go skate right behind the net so then I can get the back door. I mean, I'm not saying you have to play that way, but it's just the
Competitively.
game. The game has just turned so like just like gimmicky or
No
it's,
creativity. It's like
yeah,
everyone's
there's no
found the path of
flow.
least resistance, but yeah, man, NHL for me. I went live yesterday for the first time in 11 days, or like 7 because I did it in DC. But
You just talked
I
hockey for like
literally
45 minutes.
4 hour stream talked hockey, and low key might be what I do for like the remainder of the summer. Like other than like a new game, like I play a lot of Tarkov and other games throughout the summer, which I'm excited for. But it is July. We should get news on 24. It 20 yeah, I want to say it's
Yeah.
25 in August. Which I'm super excited for. I This year was the worst game that I have been a part of in terms of whether it be a game changer or a content creator. This is by far the worst. I did not like 22 because I didn't like the gameplay, but that's subjective. Some people love 22's gameplay because it was very sim based, but I found that once you got to like the high end, it wasn't like the best player always won. And in a video game, it's a video game. I understand that it's a video game of the sport, but the way that we play it, I don't do it very well, but like I don't know how many games that I would play and I would have 15 minutes TOA with 30 shots on goal and someone just scored off of like a random flick up. Like it just happened so much last year, so I didn't enjoy it. But 23, worst across the board. Like
Hmm.
other than crossplay, and for the majority of the year, I didn't have crossplay on because PlayStation users just did not do it
That's a
well.
whole. That's just I
I
don't
think that it's
even.
in a better state now. I can confidently say that at least when I'm in DC because I'm on 2 ping.
I just
But
can't believe the games still play differently. I think they do from what people like
I'm
the
not
nerd
sure.
herd.
Yeah, like because
The
like
nerdy kids that play like every day, they tell me it's different
how
from
many
Xbox.
times though does
Like,
one person say something and it explodes?
yeah,
It's
I
so
just feel
hard to
like when
quantify. It's so
like polls
back
play
in the
so
year.
much.
Back
I
in like
trust them.
in 19 or 20. What year was it when it legitimately was a different game?
Oh,
I think it was
I was
20.
I was I was one of the big people that was like pushing it too because I
I think
played
it was
both all the
20,
time.
and it was legitimately they came out like Ben said that like yeah I don't know why but Xbox's hit engine or hit something is not registering the same as PlayStation, so that's a whole other thing. But
It still feels like there's more bumps on Xbox than
I agree.
PlayStation.
I agree. But that's tough for another conversation because we are back, and we will be back throughout the summer. We'll do one a week, but we're definitely because NHL is pretty much cooked. We'll talk a little bit about it, maybe things that we want to see and stuff like that. But for the majority of
We
it,
got,
we'll
we
probably
got free agency next week,
we're going to
too.
be talking about free agency and some real hockey because I think far too many of you just play the game and don't actually pay attention to hockey. So we must educate. We must create debates and get you interested in the actual thing. So that is what we will do. But that's it for episode 71, guys. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.